everyone, it's Darius at Off-Road Universe. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on the WR. Let me just kind of roll over here. I'll talk about where we're at. And we're slowly moving along. We've got grips on her. We've got the throttle adjusted. We've got new brake levers. I decided just to throw the front number plate on there just to see what it would look like. We got the new tires on. We got the motor in the frame. I believe I had talked with y'all about that the last time. Everything went in really good. Was just really careful not to scratch anything. This is the big YZ490 motor. Basically exact same motor with some timing changes, different color, obviously painted silver. And yes, they did paint this whole thing silver. You can see there's paint here. So they painted this. It's not just bare coat. But what they did do was they retarded the timing a little bit. They changed, I think the carb, it's at 38, although I am probably going to put a PWK or something like that on there, although I do have the original carb, which I might run the first time. But anyway, so WR500, 92, 93, I polished the motor mounts, as you can see. For those of you new to the project, basically, I went in and I redid the frame, repainted the frame in certain areas. All of this is repainted. You probably can see, I think. Well, you're not going to be able to see that it's repainted. It just looks really nice. But it didn't come like that, right? So, and then basically my line was probably like here, this is original. So you can kind of see that you can't really see shit. It looks good. That's how you do it. And so we got some hardener on here. That's the original shock, not repainted. Just basically cleaned up, waxed a bit, redid all this, polished the bolts. Yeah, man, everything is looking good. So let me back up a little bit. So I threw the seat on there. I refurbished the seat. I used some stuff called Secalo to take off a little bit of a layer. Also found that a little bit of acetone very carefully will take off a little bit of the color and some of that older layer if it's sun damaged. Last weekend, I've been real busy with work, company, and a lot of employees, a lot of stuff going on, and had some employee turnover, so I had to find a great rock star staff person to take over, and I think it did. But that put stuff like this sometimes on the back burner. But I managed to get the chain on the bike, and that's really good. This is a nice, I think it's a 520 chain. I mean, I bought this, can't remember the name of the company, but man, I'll tell you what, these guys, it was cheap, and it's a really nice chain. Thick, it's O-ring, gold, which I love the look of. Anything gold or cadmium plated on these bikes just makes my heart skip a beat. No question about it, just beautiful. So yeah, we got all that stuff together, and now what we're looking at is getting the rest of the plastics on. I wanted to just kind of test fit the rear fender and see, so I put it on, and I couldn't stop. I wanted to just keep messing with it, so I went ahead and put the decals on. These are from yzdecals.com. I think they look really good. Kind of managed to stumble upon some original WR 500 pictures so I could see exactly where they went, and some bikes that still had the originals on there, and that's where they went. So we got that. We got the little racing stripe, if you will, and yeah, she's looking good. I wish I had a little more room, but I didn't pull the wife's car out of the garage, so between all these other bikes, we're kind of, hurting for space here. But yeah, she's looking good. We're moving along. My next goal, obviously, is to just kind of keep rolling and moving through everything. My bigger goal right now will be to seal the tank, as I've been talking about for the last 2 months. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about all this stuff, but I want to seal up the tank. I want to finish getting the rest of the pieces on. I need to do some torque specs on the motor mounts. Need to bleed the brakes, which incidentally, they worked fine. But as I took everything apart, some bubbles. The empty part of the reservoir probably flipped upside down and a bubble got in the line, so I got to fix that. But there's little odds and ends. Got to tighten up these, bolts. I'm going to Loctite some stuff, Loctite the motor mounts. But pretty much after that, I mean, it's side panels, seal the tank, get the tank on, front fender, bleed the brakes, figure out the carburation, air filter. I mean, we're really, moving along. And it's such a fun project because every little bit that you see, is just kind of a milestone, like getting this fender on. It's just cool to see it. You can kind of see the lines of the WR start to take form, and it's a nice bike. Incidentally, I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit, if we're going to get, comparing, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of the KTM rear fender. The 95 KTM kind of has a fender similar, not exactly the same, but it's definitely not that old world moto fender like the KTM or the KX. They have a very similar fender. I thought that the KTM rear fender was huge till I saw the KX rear fender. That is a big ass fender, man. That's all I'm going to say. That is a big fender. KTM fender is a lot more streamlined. I also thought that the KTM tanks were like a similar kind of feel and seating as the KX, and oh, heck no, man. That is an 89 tank, which is smaller, but the original KX tank is a monster. So ergonomically, those are not the most modern feeling bikes. But that being said, the reason I bring that up is that the KTM went to that type of fender in 94, and in mid 91, 92, Yamaha was integrating the fenders with the body panels, which is basically what that is. It's very integrated. You have, the handles right there where you can grab on the KTM. Right there, you see that little hole? Well, Yamaha's, you'll see, has the same thing. And KTM might have taken some cues from Yamaha. I don't know. But it's pretty awesome because you've got some really great grab space here. You can see in the original video when I had this thing all together, I was pretty blown away by it. But yeah, she's getting there. Everything is looking good. And I'll keep you guys posted. It's about all I can say at this point. I've said it for, the last month and a half. I'll keep you all posted as I go through and finish her up. But yeah, I mean, she is looking good. And just the little details, I think, are the most impressive about not so much the build. I mean, the build is just, it's just what it is. But the details that I feel are impressive is just the way Yamaha did stuff on these bikes. I mean, of course, the Delta Box swing arm, that was revolutionary. This chain buffer, I mean, these things last forever. This is a new one, but the way they set this up, the way this kind of floats on the swing arm versus the KTMs, the material is unbelievably pliable, whereas a lot of the other ones are really hard. The removable subframe, and then you've got basically a two-piece subframe. You take this bolt out, you take this bolt out, and you can just pull this whole piece off here. The integrated panels, you've got real handles here because the way they built the side panel, I mean, your hand will go right up under this subframe. You can pick up this bike. It's just an amazing, amazing machine. And of course, the credit really isn't part of the 500 lineup. I mean, this is essentially a YC250 chassis with a modification of the head angle and some of the other, areas where the motor bolts into the frame so they could make it fit, but it is basically a YC250 frame. And that's why it feels so damn sweet. It feels so light. It feels so slim. It feels so almost small compared to some of the other bikes, but it's just a beauty. And I'm in awe. I'm looking at it, and I wanted to share with you because, it's starting to take form. And yeah, it's like fine wine. You don't want to rush it because every little thing that you do is just exciting. Let me move some stuff here. Unfortunately, I had this on the 84 250R, which in and of itself is a very beautiful air fouler. But just looking at this thing, sit down with me, have a beer, have some coffee, and just look at it, man. As Ed Bassmaster would say, man, just would you look at that? I mean, just look at that damn thing. Wow. It's just cool as heck, especially if you've been working a lot. You've been working all week, busting your butt, and you want to sit down on a Friday night, have a beer, and look at a bike. Yeah, man, this is what it is. it's just a beautiful piece. I mean, it is just a beautiful piece. That's all I could say. So colors, everything Yamaha did was just dead on, man. Dead on, awesome. And what I really love about where Yamaha was at this time, you know, in 92, KTM, you know, they started going to some of these colors as well, you know, these pastels, Miami Vice colors. But Yamaha really started to take the paint off of stuff at that point, probably even way before. I think your 88s, maybe, you know, you had basically your Nissan brakes, non-painted. KTM was still painting theirs black, you know, the Brembos, which looked good. But, you know, they had gone just to silver, and they painted the hub silver. You know, Ken Kaplan talked about this. The triple clamp, that top clamp is painted. That hub is painted, and it's a very, very nice silver. I mean, it's a high quality silver. I mean, you got some fleck in there that's just, like Ken was saying, I mean, it's not something you can do in a spray bottle. It's really, really nice. So anyway, man, anyway, I'm excited. It's getting there. I wanted to give you guys a little update. It's been a while, and hopefully, you know, it inspires you to do your own projects and see something cool that maybe you looked at as a kid or that you looked at as an adult and just thought, man, I would love this bike. I would love to have one of these, or just, you know, the nostalgia, or just the way it looked, or what it represented in motocross. So, you know, that's why I do this. They take me back. I mean, all the bikes I love. I mean, I have a newer YZ250, but, you know, you look at something like this, man, it just takes you back, especially if you know, if you knew what was going on in these times, or you grew up in these times. They were just great times. And, you know, everything was colorful, bright, and dare I say hopeful, man. I mean, you know, we were hopeful. You know, there was bad stuff happening in the world, obviously, and some stuff we did that probably wasn't that great in America. I mean, you know, I remember in Dirt Bike, they were talking about Desert Storm and all of that. And, you know, there was some stuff that happened there that wasn't good for poor Iraqis. But, you know, that's an unfortunate part of U.S. foreign policy. And the whole reason for that was BS, right? I don't want to get into that. But, you know, sad for those people. Terrible. But from the side of the U.S., as it is with empires, we were almost at the pinnacle of an empire as the United States. So it's like just this, you know, positivity. And we didn't know any better because there wasn't so much alternative media. So we just thought, oh, this was a good thing. We did something good. And it's interesting, in the Dirt Bike magazine, you know, they said that these WRs were going to be limited edition, and they would sell out faster than Desert Storm t-shirts, right? So if you grew up through those times, or you were around or whatever, you know, you kind of remember how popular that was. And we didn't know, you know, what really had happened there or anything. We were just, you know, kind of blind. I think people are a lot more awake these days with alternative media. But nonetheless, it was an interesting, nice time in America, and a nice time for Americans to import Japanese Yamahas. All right, everyone. Have a good night. We'll keep you updated. And if you like the video, you want to see what happens to the bike, do I ever even start it and ride it, man? That's a good question. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Later.